Good evening, and welcome to the Sock's virtual stage and our very first ever streamed reading of a play in development. My name is Trinity Bird, and I am the executive director here at the Sock. We're thrilled that you're joining us tonight on this virtual stage for a very exciting, you're our guinea pig audience for this project, and we're hoping that you're just going to have a great time tonight. Before we begin, we want to thank our sponsors for Plays in Development. That would be Country Carpets, Playford Real Estate, Don Toffolo of Edward Jones, and our longtime Plays in Development partner, Gossage Eye Institute and Optical. We also want to thank the 2020 Sock season sponsor, Expressions Photography and Design, and our media sponsor, WCSR Radio Hillsdale. Now tonight, we are not asking for any sort of ticket price, but normally we put out a bucket at the door. If you would like to make a donation tonight, you can go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/thesock. Click the fundraiser button, and there will be a Plays in Development donation spot right there. Any price helps ensure the future of the Sock and the future of our Plays in Development program. Anything from $1 to $100,000 is greatly appreciated. Also tonight, after the reading, there will be a talkback, a live interactive talkback with the playwright and our director, Liz Pence. To participate in the talkback, you do need to be watching this stream on YouTube to use the chat function. So if you're watching this on our Facebook page or our website, all you have to do is click the title. It'll take you right to YouTube, and what you type in the chat function we'll be able to see and ask those questions of our playwright. Tonight's reading is approximately an hour and 25 minutes long, and you should know that tonight's play contains strong language, violence, and drug use. So tonight's play may not be suitable for all audiences. Next week, we'll be presenting another brand new play called Sebastian Rising on Saturday night, May 16th at 7:30 p.m. We hope you'll join us. Now, sit back, get comfortable, as we bring theater to you for the Sock's production of Plays in Development, Gravity, a Union.
Gravity, a Union, by Alexander Wolfe. Setting, a small, comfy, suburban home. Scene 1. The lights come up and we see a typical living room. A large armchair is occupied by Dad, who is currently reading the paper. Next to the chair is a couch on which daughter reclines reading a book. A low coffee table sits in front of the couch. On the table sits a small beaker used as a vase which holds a single flower. A door with a window and cozy curtains is placed stage right. Stage left is a large archway leading to the kitchen as well as upstairs. The doorbell rings. Dad lowers his paper. Dad raises his paper. The bell rings again.
See who it is, please.
Daughter puts down her book, goes to the door, and pulls aside the curtain.
It's some guy in a suit.
Dad stands and moves to the door, showcasing a fairly large limp. He opens the door.
Yes, hello?
Good evening. I don't know if you received our message that I'd be dropping by today. The office said they left 2 or 3, but in any case, I'm the Child Protective Service representative that has been assigned to your case.
I have a case? That's news to me.
Don't feel bad. Technically, if you've got a kid, you've got a case. We just don't end up talking to everybody. If it's not too much trouble, could I come in? I've got a few things we need to discuss.
Dad steps back and gestures for Man to enter, which Man does, carrying a folder, a notebook, and a pen. Once in, Man sees daughter.
And hello to you too. Pleased to meet you.
Hello?
Something to drink?
Some water would be excellent, actually, if you don't mind.
I'll get it.
Dad sits back down in the chair.
It's kind of late for a meeting like this, isn't it?
We try our best to work around people's schedules as much as we can, so we tend to come on the weekend or after the workday. It also preemptively eliminates excuses of being too busy to talk with us.
Dad pulls up the leg of his pants, exposing a leg brace.
Well, I haven't been doing much lately.
Of course not. It's just procedure, you know. We like to be sure.
Daughter comes back from the kitchen with a glass of water for Man, which she places on the coffee table.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Han, why don't you take your book up to your room for a while? I need to talk to this gentleman.
Okay.
I'm sure you know what this is about, generally speaking.
Yeah, I suppose I do.
It's really a routine visit in cases like this, especially with your particular background.
Of course. Let's do what we have to do. I'd like to get this over with. No offense.
None taken. None at all. So, the facts as they are. On May 19th at approximately 4:15 p.m., you were involved in a serious vehicle accident, causing the death of your spouse and causing severe injury to you, most notably your leg, requiring extensive medical care. Is this correct?
Yes, that is correct.
After receiving said medical care, you were recommended to a psychiatrist by your primary doctor, correct?
Correct.
And to date, you have not been a single time.
Also correct.
Which, in a roundabout way, is why I'm here.
It was a recommendation, not an order.
Look, you've been gone for a year and a half, and the first day you're back, your wife died. Whether it's appropriate in the situation or not, that sequence of events starts things moving. With you also not seeking out help for yourself, we just have to make sure everything is okay in the home. For your daughter's sake.
I just don't believe in therapy.
And you don't have to. I'm here simply to make sure you're in a sound enough state of mind to provide adequate care for her.
Determined by one interview.
Yes. And if I feel the need to follow up further, that step will of course be taken. But the base interview usually gives us enough to go on.
Okay, and what happens if you don't think I'm in sound state of mind?
Do you really think we'll have to worry about that? Why don't we cross that bridge when we come to it?
Why don't we cross it now? It's a simple question.
With a complex answer. But putting it as simply as possible, if you're found unable to provide a safe and nurturing space for your child, a few different things may happen. You may have to undergo court-mandated therapy. You may be assigned a live-in nurse until you're capable of running a household on your own. Or in the most extreme case, your child could be completely removed from your care.
I see. That's your job, is it?
Occasionally it is. But before proceeding any further with my questions, I think it might be vital to explain something. I'm not here to take your child from you. That's not my goal here tonight.
Well, that's good. But where do the children go when they are taken away?
Usually to a relative. I understand your father took care of her for a while you were in the hospital.
He did. If that were to happen, could I still see her?
That would depend on the circumstances surrounding her removal. But let's not go too far down that path. I highly doubt it'll come to that.
I hope not.
Are you ready to begin?
We haven't?
Not formally.
You mind if I grab a drink, or will that count against me?
It's your house and it's after 5. Don't let me stop you.
Do you have a family?
No, actually. My work is my family.
In my experience, they're rarely the same thing.
Dad returns with a beer.
I'd offer, but I figure you're on the clock still.
I appreciate that. Ready to begin?
Dad settles into the chair and takes a drink.
Ready.
To begin, could I simply ask you to describe the events of May 19th for me?
The whole day or just the wreck?
Anything you deem important.
Okay. That was the first day I had seen my wife in 18 months. It was actually supposed to be a week or so earlier, but they always find a way to stick it to you just a bit more right before you leave. Temporary security freeze. We were on a tiny ass island that I don't even bother putting on maps, but how much could our security really be compromised? So I get home a week late, but I'll bet you already know this, don't you?
Please continue.
Yeah, I'll bet you do. So I'm coming home, and I use some of this money to buy a nice bunch of flowers so that I'm not coming home empty-handed, trying to be a sweetheart. My wife, used to like surprises like that. I get to the house, and it's just like every other homecoming video you've ever seen. Tears, hugs, kisses, the damn dog jumping all over and barking. Just beautiful. We decided to go get my daughter from school, have the day to ourselves as a family. We even brought the dog.
Oh?
Didn't know that one, did you? Yeah, we had a dog. Write it down. On the way to the hospital, something happened. I got distracted. We jumped the median. Last thing I remember was the grill of a semi-truck. After that, it's all just flashes of hospitals and worried doctors. May 19th. Exciting day.
The dog also
died. I miss that dog.
My condolences. If I may, and please understand that no offense is meant by this, you don't seem too emotional when talking about such an intense experience. I'm not saying that it has anything to do with, well, anything, just something I observed.
Noted.
Do you miss your wife?
Yes.
Why?
Why?
I know it seems insensitive, but it's a routine question. Your ability to articulate your feelings is important. So why do you miss her?
Because I loved her and now she's gone?
Thank you. What happened to your daughter that day?
Nobody picked her up from school. When she had waited for a couple hours, she just walked home. Then when we weren't there, she called her grandfather. He came over and they started looking for us. Eventually, they found out where we were. Of course, this is all secondhand info from her grandfather, just what I've been told.
That must have been an awful day for her.
For all of us.
How did she handle it?
Better than I would have, especially at her age. Her grandfather said she never actually seemed afraid, just very concerned. Until she got to the hospital, at least, but she's never liked hospitals.
Is there any reason for that?
Can you show me a kid that likes hospitals?
Actually, yeah, one or two.
Well, there's always a couple, aren't there?
Usually, yes. Moving back to the wreck now. You say you were distracted. What exactly was it that distracted you?
You know, I've had a lot of time to think about that. Most honest answer I can give you is, I don't know.
You know that you were distracted, but you don't know what distracted you.
No, I don't. Not exactly.
That seems odd.
I'm sure it does.
If you had to guess.
Forgive me, but this doesn't seem the time to be guessing.
Off the record, then.
Is it really?
Would I lie?
I don't know you, so yes, probably. But I'll give you my best guess.
I appreciate that.
It was probably the moment she told me she was pregnant.
That's a very specific guess.
That's not the part I have to guess about. That's the part I know.
Seems simple. Your wife tells you she's pregnant. You lose control of the car. Boom, accident.
Basically, yeah. But go deeper. And there's still one piece I can't put together in my head.
What's that?
From the outside, you would think it couldn't be missed, wouldn't you? I haven't seen her in a year and a half. She tells me she's pregnant. It's obvious what she did. Except at the time, it's not. At that moment, when you've been away from home that long, all that's in your head is excitement. You're going to have another baby. Life is wonderful.
So you're telling me you didn't even realize your wife had been unfaithful?
That's the thing. I don't know if I did or not. That's the question that's been in my head for the last couple weeks. Was I excited enough to crash the car? Angry enough? Or was it actually just an accident? I ended up talking with the doctor about it during physical therapy when I was on a ton of painkillers. My guess is that's why he recommended the psychiatrist. He thought it was important that I know.
Do you think it's important?
I think it's important to me, but shouldn't matter to anybody else. Well, maybe my daughter.
You can't see why others would want to know?
I can give you a very bland answer here. Yes, I can see why it would be important to make sure I didn't intentionally wreck the car to kill my wife and her potential baby. That would tend to reflect badly as a parent. Thus, your visit here this evening.
Daughter enters in a rush. Her thumb is dripping a small amount of blood.
Do we have any Band-Aids?
Honey,
Dad gets up and limps quickly to daughter. He presses on the wound, stopping the blood.
again?
It's not my fault. It's not like I mean to.
We've talked about this.
I know. It was an accident.
Go get a paper towel from the kitchen and rinse it out first. Cold water, not hot.
What happened?
She chews her thumb, absent-mindedly, kind of like some people chew their nails. She usually realizes before it gets that bad.
And how long has this been happening?
The chewing or the bleeding?
Both.
She's chewed her thumb for quite a while, a couple of years, I think. The bleeding, well, her grandfather said it started right after her mother died. It's a nervous tick. Of course, it could get worse.
So bleeding since May 19th.
No, I said since her mother died. She was in the hospital for 2 days. Maybe my father just didn't notice, but he said it only started after she finally died.
And it continued.
It's stress. It only happens when she's stressed. 90% of the time, it's fine.
It doesn't seem healthy.
No, it doesn't. That's why I'm going to get her help if it doesn't stop.
I would advise that you do so sooner rather than later.
Daughter enters. She is holding a very wet, very red paper towel wrapped around her thumb.
Dad, it's not stopping.
Sweetie Christ.
Dad unwraps the paper towel a bit. Blood drips onto the floor.
I think it's bad.
Honey, what did you do?
I don't know. It's just not stopping.
Blackout. Scene 2. We remain in the living room. Dad sits in his chair, waiting. Daughter reads her book on the couch. Her thumb is bandaged. The doorbell rings.
I knew it. Could you?
Sure thing.
Daughter opens the door.
Hello again.
Hi.
Is your father home?
Yes.
Welcome back.
Good to see you again.
Do you want water again?
No, but thank you for the offer. How are you feeling? How's the thumb?
It's better. I'm fine.
Sweetie, could you go up to your room while we talk?
Do you really think that's a good idea?
Yes, I do. Go on. It won't happen again. We've talked.
Are you sure?
Positive.
If you don't mind me asking exactly what happened?
Cut her thumb open with a knife.
Self-harm is an unfortunate but all too common reaction to extreme amounts of stress like this.
That's not why she did it.
What do you mean?
She thought you were going to take her away from me.
Why would she think that?
She was listening to us talk. She was nervous and chewed her thumb until it bled. Then that gave her an idea. If she had to go to the hospital, you couldn't take her away. And well, you saw what happened.
That's an intense reaction.
Yes. Yes, it is.
You sound proud.
Do I? Maybe a little.
You're proud of her.
Very. She saw a problem and came up with a solution. You should have seen her when we got in the car. Not one single tear. I'm not saying that's how I would have suggested she go about it, but
Your daughter mutilated herself with a knife.
I would hardly call a small cut a mutilation.
And you're proud of this?
Not of the injury, of the intention. Of what it meant. I'm relieved. It means she doesn't hate me. For her mother. She wants to stay with me.
Do you think she should hate you?
Why not? I hate me.
Because you feel responsible.
Because I am responsible. Whether the intent was there or not is irrelevant. I was driving. I'm responsible. I took her mother away.
That's a lot to be responsible for.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I feel I should tell you. I'm nervous about allowing the child to remain here. Not because you're good or bad for her. I haven't made any sort of judgment on that yet. But because she could be a danger to herself.
She isn't.
You can't know that.
She told me she isn't.
Children lie.
She was telling the truth.
Can you prove that?
The tears. They stopped when we got in the car. Away from you, she was acting.
I'm sorry, but there's no proof other than your word.
True.
I'm only trying to do what's best for her.
We have that in common.
May I speak with her?
If she wants you to, sure.
I don't mind.
She was listening.
Apparently. Sweetie, would you like me to stay here while you talk, or would you like some privacy?
I can talk alone.
Call me if you need me. I'll be in the kitchen.
Do you want me to sit down?
Whatever makes you comfortable.
None of this makes me comfortable.
Daughter sits in Dad's chair.
I understand, and I sympathize. It can be a little intimidating, but I promise you, I'm only here to help.
Whatever you say.
This must be a lot to take in. I'm sorry you're in this situation.
Yeah, everyone's sorry.
I'm here because the government is worried about you. When something as traumatic as this occurs, it tends to be most difficult on the children in the family.
Why?
Well, it's because your coping mechanisms aren't as finely developed yet. You haven't experienced this much trauma in the past, so you don't have practice dealing with it. That makes it harder.
Why does the government care?
Because the government cares about all the children that reside under its care.
I'm not a child.
You know, I would tend to agree with you. 14 isn't much of a child anymore. Unfortunately, until you're 18, legally you are a child in the eyes of the government.
You can't take me away.
Hey, nobody's here to take you away. We just want to make sure that you're okay. What's so wrong about that?
You told my dad you could take me away?
Only in very extreme cases. We never like to take a child from their home unless we absolutely have to. It's always a last resort.
That's why I cut my thumb. So you'd go away. It wasn't because of being sad or anything.
That's what your father told me. Could you answer a quick question for me?
Maybe.
Do you know what being coached means? In the context of all of this, not in a sports sense.
Yeah. It's being told what to say.
Smart. Very good. How did you know that?
I read.
One of the best hobbies you can have. At least that's what my grandmother used to tell me. Now, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Has your father coached you into saying anything to me? Anything at all?
No.
You're sure? You won't get in trouble if you tell me you know.
I'm sure.
Okay, if you say so. If it ever does happen, though, I need you to tell me. It can be real scary, but it's very important because it's the right thing to do. Can you do that?
You don't have to talk to me like that.
Like what?
Like I'm a toddler. I told you I'm not a kid.
If you say so. My apologies. Can you do that for me?
Yeah, I can do that.
And I hope you realize that hurting yourself is never the answer.
It didn't hurt.
You had to get 3 stitches.
I know. I was there.
Stitches hurt.
Not me. Not my thumbs, anyway. They don't feel anything anymore. Not when I don't want them to.
What?
When I don't want them to, my thumbs don't feel anything.
You have no feeling at all in them?
Nope. None at all. I think it's because of the chewing.
Does your father know this?
I don't know.
Well, have you told him?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Didn't see the point.
What about the doctors at the hospital? They must have noticed.
I faked it. I'm good at that. You should know. I fooled you.
You did. You're good.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to have to bring it up, but do you mind if I ask you a couple questions about the accident?
I guess not.
Thank you. If it gets to be too much, just tell me and we can stop.
Okay.
Okay. How have you been feeling now that a little bit of time has passed?
Bad.
Just bad?
How would you feel?
I don't know. I've never been in a situation like you are. I just think there's more to it than bad. Bad can mean so many different things, you know? Could you be a little more specific?
I miss my dog. Nobody cared about the dog in the accident. Well, Grandpa did, but nobody listened to him. Besides, we were at the hospital by the time we found out.
That's what's been on your mind? Your dog?
I just wish I knew what happened.
What do you mean?
I know what happened to Mom and Dad. They told us at the hospital. Well, they told Grandpa and he told me. But nobody ever said anything about the dog.
Well, their focus had to be on your parents at the time.
I know. I just want to know, was it quick? Was it sudden? Was she just lying there on the ground? Or...
I'm sure it was quick.
You don't know. You didn't even know we used to have a dog until my dad told you.
Well, based on the severity of the accident, we can assume that...
Yeah, based on the facts, she probably died right away. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt. She was old. She was pretty small. She probably died right away. But I don't know. And I wish I did.
Would knowing help you feel better?
No. But maybe I could think about something else.
You shouldn't do that.
You're not my dad. You can't tell me what to do.
Well, your father said
I
that
have a hangnail. I don't need your permission to chew a hangnail. Back off.
I just don't want to see you hurt yourself. You, me, your dad, the government, we're all in the same team here. We all just need to cooperate for the greater good.
You know what?
What?
I don't like you.
I'm only here because...
No, I don't like you as a person. Not because of your job.
Have I done something wrong?
Have you ever thought that maybe people don't want to talk to you?
Most people don't want to talk to me. Part of my job.
You've never had a lot of friends, have you?
I'm not here to talk about myself. I'm here to talk about what you've been through.
What? You don't like being asked personal questions by a stranger?
There's a reason I ask the questions I do.
So I should trust you.
Do you have any reason not to?
It's not how it works. You never trust somebody straight off. It has to be earned.
Who told you that?
It's just the way it is.
Some people might say that there are people you should trust right away. Doctors, police.
Are you a doctor?
Not a medical doctor, no, but I do have a doctorate.
Are you a police officer?
I'm not, but I work with them.
It sounds like you don't get to be trusted right away. You have to earn it.
Have you ever been told that you were definitely your father's daughter?
People would say I'm actually more like my mom. But people change. Thank you.
For what?
Making me smile. I want to be like my dad. Or my grandpa. But mostly my dad.
Oh yeah?
Of course. He's a hero.
A hero, huh?
Yeah.
That's very sweet.
If you say so.
You know what? I think that's all I need from you today.
That wasn't much.
I wasn't looking for much. I just wanted to talk.
Should I get my dad?
That would be excellent. Thank you.
Done already.
For today.
Should we expect you tomorrow?
Tomorrow or the next day.
There's a bowl of orange slices on the counter. Go put that in the fridge, would you? And give the cutting board a rinse. Just be careful not to get the bandage wet.
Okay.
I'm worried about your daughter.
Oh?
She never mentioned her mother.
I doubt she wants to talk about it.
It doesn't much matter in a situation like this. She needs to be talking.
She talks with her grandfather. She stays with him twice a week.
She needs to talk to a professional. She's saying she has no feelings in her thumbs.
I don't think she does.
And that's not a problem.
She's been checked. Nothing is wrong with her.
You call last night nothing? 3 stitches is nothing.
It's taken care of. She told you herself.
You were listening.
Apparently.
She misses the dog.
So do I.
Man walks to the door.
Until next time.
Until then. What do you think?
I don't like him. He wants to make trouble.
Blackout. Scene 3. We remain in the living room. Dad sits in the chair. Daughter is curled up in his lap, asleep. The doorbell rings. Daughter's eyes open, but she doesn't move.
Come in.
Bad time?
Not at all. Sometimes it just feels like the summer afternoons will never end, doesn't it? Have a seat.
Thank you. I called a few different times.
My phone is dead. I'm still not used to having one with me all the time. They weren't allowed where we were. Was it important?
I was actually going to ask both of you to come and meet with somebody at my office.
Who would that be?
A colleague of mine. There are just a couple of things about this case that I'd like to get a second opinion on. The circumstances being what they are.
And what are they?
Let's say tenuous. Although that has a bit of a negative ring to it. Uncertain, maybe? Undetermined? It all adds up to the same.
So why do you need help?
Well, this job gets very complex sometimes. I'm human enough, despite what you might think of me, to realize that nobody is infallible, least of all myself.
I never said you weren't human. I just don't like you.
Yes, you've mentioned that. My colleague is outside in the car. May I bring her in?
Of course. Do me a favor.
What?
Be polite.
I'm always polite.
Turn it up a notch.
Fine.
There's a polite knock, and the door opens again.
Here we are.
Very nice to meet you both.
Likewise.
Hi.
You'll excuse me if I don't get up.
Oh, no, stay. Best seat in the house, eh?
Yeah.
Daughter gets off Dad's lap.
Oh, please, don't feel like you have to move.
It's fine.
Make yourself at home.
Well, thank you very much.
Man and woman both sit on the couch. Daughter takes a seat on the arm of Dad's chair.
We've been going over your file very carefully for the last couple of days.
It's a terrible situation. My condolences for your losses.
That's appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Have you been told why I was brought onto this case?
Vaguely. Apparently, the state of it is tenuous.
Oh, God, please, I hate that word. Let's just say uncertain. Tenuous is so pretentious. Is that a hint of a smile I see? And here I thought I was walking into the den of a brooding teenager. I got my guard all up for nothing. Now what am I supposed to do?
Well, I haven't been a teenager for very long.
That's very true. Good point.
All of this is very fun, but if we have business here, we'd better get on with it. Somebody has an early appointment tomorrow.
Oh?
She started seeing a therapist.
Well, that's to be expected, isn't it? After something that terrible.
Honey, why don't you run upstairs and get ready for bed? Unless you need her for this.
I don't think so, no.
And if we do, well, we can still talk in pajamas, right?
Right.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Daughter gives Dad a kiss on the cheek.
She's a sweetheart.
That she is.
Yeah, incredibly sweet. Shall we get down to business?
We shall.
Excellent. Do you remember our first conversation?
Yes.
More specifically, do you remember the part where you described the events of May 19th?
Yes.
You'll recall that I took some notes. I was going over those notes a couple days ago, and I noticed a small discrepancy. You stated that you, your wife, with the dog, had decided to pick up your daughter from school. All well and good. But then not 2 sentences later, you said that the accident occurred on the way to the hospital. I almost brushed it off as a slip of the tongue, hospitals no doubt being on your mind, but something nagged at me. I did a little digging, and do you know what I found?
What would that be?
I found out that your daughter wasn't in school that day. In fact, she was actually in the hospital, wasn't she?
Your daughter is out of the room, so let's drop the illusions of friendship. This is a very serious matter, so lying to us is a bad idea.
I've gathered.
To continue, your daughter was in the hospital. And this wasn't the first time she'd been in the hospital recently, was it?
No.
Would you please tell us why she was there?
Therapy.
For what?
We'll be finding out either way. It would be much easier if you told us. Being honest would also help, which is why I'm sure that you will be.
Letters. It was because of the letters.
What letters?
Letters from me from when I was deployed.
Please elaborate.
She wrote to me. Everybody who's got kids got letters from them. Except she wasn't just talking about missing me or telling me what was going on in her life. She wanted to know things. Things about the war. Way back when we first had her, my wife and I swore that we wouldn't lie to our daughter if we could help it. If she was old enough to be able to formulate a question about something, she was old enough to hear the answer. That was our view. Still is, in my opinion. I told her what she wanted to know.
Apparently that theory was a little flawed.
Excuse me?
She obviously couldn't handle it, could she?
Maybe not. Maybe not then.
What exactly got her sent to the hospital? These letters were obviously traumatizing to an extent, but what was the catalyst for taking her in for treatment?
Her thumbs. That's when she started chewing them.
And how long ago exactly would that be?
I'm not sure. Over a year, less than 2, I believe. I'm sure you have the exact date of admittance, but I can't remember it. I didn't know right away either. I was a bit hard to read for a while.
Doing what?
Big military secrets.
And we aren't cleared to know.
Are we going to keep pretending we don't already know each other? You were there. I remember you.
So, I wonder.
Would be hard to forget.
You'd be surprised. Almost everyone does.
Most probably want to.
Most people don't have a choice. Cognitive degeneration is a long-term side effect in over 85% of the participants. Not to mention, most people want to forget that pain.
It wasn't that bad.
And you told your daughter?
Not all of it, just what she asked about.
And what did she ask?
She asked if I missed her. I said yes. She asked if it was hot. I said yes. She asked if I was scared, and I told her I didn't know.
Go on.
She asked why I didn't know. I beat around the bush for a while, said some pretty cliche things about being in a war zone, being so far away from her and her mother, missing the dog in the house, all the standard sort of half-truths we're told to tell people. All true, but not the whole truth.
Look, the censors failed to catch your letter in this case, but we still have a good idea of what you two talked about. So just tell us.
She sent one letter shortly after we'd been able to Skype with each other. Pretty normal letter till the end. P.S. When we talked, your eyes were different. What happened? Silly question, I thought at the time, but it stuck with me. I was lying awake one night. It was always hard to sleep in the heat on that island. It was just nagging at me. I was almost angry. What the hell did she mean my eyes were different? Eventually, I got up, looked in the mirror, and wouldn't you know it, she was right. I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was something different about my goddamn eyes.
Different?
Yeah. Best way I can put it is they were kind of hollow and blank. Nothing behind them, no feeling, no personality. You could probably explain it better than I could.
It's called Strohnfelter's gaze. It stems from an inability to completely process emotional stress. It's fairly rare phenomenon in the world. The mind is able to process and handle much more than most people give it credit for.
Out in the car. That's why you were asking about.
Yes, I was curious.
It's gone now, thankfully.
How? We still don't have a definitive cure.
The car wreck.
Huh?
There before, gone after.
No kidding. Huh, fascinating.
The wreck fixed you.
Apparently.
But what gave you the strong whatever in the first place?
It's just, I signed a lot of privacy agreements.
We can retroactively clear him to hear all of it afterwards.
If you say so, although I'd rather have it in writing.
That can be arranged. Go on.
Whatever you say.
Dad gets out of the chair, goes to a bookshelf, and retrieves a well-worn book. He flips it open to a picture of a molecule and holds it out to Man. Man takes the book.
Recognize this?
No.
Ethyl lysergic acid diethylamide. It is to LSD what cocaine is to green tea. Like a gorilla compared to a squirrel. Like, how much do you know about psychedelics?
Not much.
Me either. Not in the grand scheme of things. Not a big fan myself. Military loves it, though. Military did some of the first psychedelic tests back in the 60s, you know.
I have heard that.
Common knowledge is they did a bunch of experiments, got cold feet, and scrapped the whole program. Project MK Ultra. Check it out. All true. Except for the bit about scrapping the program. It didn't get scrapped, just changed. Project Ascension. Are you sure it's okay to tell them? Project MK Ultra had made some fairly significant discoveries regarding the supposed mind-expanding properties of psychedelics. One of the discoveries was an increased ability to think conceptually, and another was an increased ability to analyze and connect data. Basically, you could wrap your head around bigger and bigger ideas and make some sort of sense out of them. For example, it's much easier to imagine things like light years, interdimensional travel, infinity, stuff like that, if you're tripping off your ass. Now, I don't know what idiot came up with this first, but eventually the idea came about of using this increased cognitive ability to make contact with heaven, if it exists. Pseudo-spiritual, quasi-scientific bullshit, right? But yeah, we tested it.
But that's ridiculous.
Completely ridiculous. A stupid, poorly thought out waste of money. but we fucking found something. Oh, I keep saying we. The military had been working on Project Ascension ever since MK Ultra was shut down. They started looking for heaven sometime in the mid-'80s. They made some sort of contact with something in 2004, but it was minor. It was something to go off of, though. Both findings and funding increased throughout the next decade, blah, blah, blah. And then a few months ago, we hit pay dirt. I hit pay dirt.
You found heaven.
No.
No. No.
Sort of. We communicated with what might be heaven. Nobody's really sure.
What was it like?
It hurts.
Heaven hurts.
Like a son of a bitch.
How so?
Dad, I'm gonna go to bed.
All right, sweetie. I'll be up to tell you good night.
It's probably enough anyway. We ought to go. We can come back tomorrow.
Are you sure? We still have a lot to go over with
Which we can do tomorrow.
Really?
I'll meet you outside.
If you have more to ask.
You know, could you actually send your daughter down for a moment? I'd love to have a word with her. Alone, if you don't mind.
She has an early appointment.
It'll be very quick.
I hope so.
You wanted to talk to me?
Just for a moment. You can have a seat if you'd like.
Daughter takes a seat in Dad's chair.
Sweetheart.
Could you please not call me that? My mother called me that.
Oh, I'm very sorry. I didn't realize. And you know what? You're probably old enough that I should address you like I do other women I work with. We tend to call each other ma'am. How's that? Does professional work?
Professional works.
Well then, ma'am, I've heard that you like to read.
I do.
That's one of my favorite things too. Why do you like to read?
I just like stories. They always make sense. They've got a point.
I was always more of a nonfiction person myself.
So is my mom. I have all of her books.
That's a pretty nice keepsake.
It's all right.
Do you think you'll read them all?
Maybe. I just like having them.
I bet you do. Why don't you send your father down for me and get rested up for your appointment tomorrow?
That's it?
That's it.
You'll be back tomorrow, you said?
If that's convenient.
You know as well as I do
That none of this is convenient, yes. But unfortunately, you made it necessary.
What did I do?
But we do regret the strain that this has put on your daughter. None of that was intentional.
None of it was intentional. But you still want to remove her from my care. How does that fit together? I'm a damn good father. You know that. You ought to, at least.
We know you were.
Am. Not were. Not was. Not used to be. Am. I am a good father.
Well, we just aren't sure of that, are we? If we were, we wouldn't be here.
Woman moves to the door.
You've been doing much more than just some lackadaisical parenting in the wake of the tragedy. And don't think we don't know it. We will be back, and we will find out exactly what's going on. And we will take appropriate action. You can count on it.
She seems so nice at first.
Nice is just a point of view.
Am I still going to Grandpa's tomorrow?
No. Probably not for a while.
Oh. Okay. Do I get to start helping you?
Maybe. Go on up and go to bed.
Blackout. Scene 4. We remain in the living room. Dad sits in his chair. Daughter is on the couch reading. There is a frantic knocking at the door.
Come in.
She's not here yet?
No, and you're late, by the way.
A lot has happened. Are you both okay?
We're fine. What's wrong?
The military was at our office, talking to everybody. Something bad is happening. I heard your name a couple of times. The woman, was giving orders to people. Somebody got taken away.
Relax. Sweetie, would you get him a glass of water?
Sure.
Might want to make it a whiskey, actually. Calm him down. Top shelf on the left. Hey, sit.
Man pulls the curtain shut, then sits on the couch. Daughter returns with a glass, which she gives to Man.
Thank you.
Now, there's a lot you don't know about all of this, and you're just going to have to accept it. This isn't an ordinary case, but you probably already figured that out.
She'll be here soon. I just drove like hell to get here first.
Don't worry. And thank you. It seems you actually do care about the well-being of my daughter, possibly myself as well. I need you to calm down now. Yes, this is all very big, and you probably don't deserve to be wrapped up in it, but...
There is a polite knock at the door.
Stay there. Stay calm. For God's sake, man, get rid of that deer in the headlights look. Be cool.
Hello again.
Welcome.
I'm so sorry for being late. I saw my associate's car. Is he? Oh, he is. Oh, good. I was hoping he'd be here.
I just got in a few minutes ago.
So I didn't miss much.
Nothing at all, actually.
Good, good. You should see the stir you two have been causing at my office. I barely made it over here.
Stir?
It's a madhouse.
What did we do?
You've been bad. Very bad. People are very upset with you.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I told you the last time. I made it very clear we will find out. Now, where did you get it?
Get it?
Don't drag this out. It makes us all feel very uncomfortable. Fine. The ELSD, where did you get it?
I'm done with Ascension. I received an honorable discharge. That's it.
I've told you before. It's a bad idea to lie to us.
You have.
Dad, I think I'm going to go upstairs and read for a bit.
Sure thing, sweetie.
Stay here, please.
It's okay. You can go.
It's not okay. Not today. This involves the both of you. Stay where you are.
Listen to me. You may be a very important person. You may know very powerful people. You may, however unlikely I think it is, you may even have my daughter's best interest at heart. But this is my house. I am her father, and I am the one who tells her what she is and is not allowed to do. Do we understand each other?
Oh, I understand perfectly.
Woman pulls a pistol from her handbag and shoots Man in the chest. Man clutches his chest, attempts to stand, and falls into the coffee table, dead. During this, daughter lets out a scream as dad jumps in front of her, anticipating another shot. There is a long moment of terrified silence.
It would be best if you stayed down here. You two may want to have a seat. We have some talking to do.
Dad moves daughter around the chair where she is blocked, at least slightly, from woman. Dad sits, but remains tense.
I do apologize for the couch. This isn't how I wanted to do that. My way would have been much cleaner. But I felt a statement had to be made, and he was as good as gone already. The idiot signed a dozen warnings about sharing anything he heard and then blabbed to a reporter not 3 hours later.
I'm prepared to tell you what you want to know. Please, though, could you put down the gun? You're scaring my daughter.
She doesn't look too scared.
A father knows.
Touché. Well, as long as you stay in that chair, I don't have a problem putting this down.
Woman slides the body of Man onto the floor, giving her room to move to the couch and sit. Woman sets the gun on the coffee table.
So, about those drugs you've been taking?
Yes.
Where did they come from?
You can find anything online.
I was under the impression that we are the only source of that particular chemical.
Never underestimate the power of money.
You don't have that much money.
And yet here we are.
All right. We'll come back to that. Important, really, in the grand scheme of things. You've been trying to find her, haven't you?
You know there still isn't a reliable way for me to talk to my wife.
Why don't you just stop lying to me?
What makes you think I am?
Technology is really amazing, isn't it? When you stop to think about it, going from a computer so large it had to be housed in more than one room, to a desktop, to a laptop, to the mobile phone, to the smartwatch, smaller and smaller, eventually so small that it could be placed inside someone, all the way inside the brain, even. You can lie to me. You can lie to your daughter. You can lie to a grandfather who takes care of her when you take the drugs. You can even lie to this boring husk of a man slumped on the floor there, but you can't lie to your own brain.
You're saying you put a computer without my knowledge or consent in my head?
One of, if not the greatest technological accomplishment the government has ever created. Beautifully simple, elegant, really. It can pick up signals and fired from the nerve cells in the short-term memory area of the brain, right in the prefrontal cortex. It's rather amazing. Looks like a bit of wax paper until it's applied. And the bindings dissolve and it becomes part of your biology.
It does what?
It becomes part of you. It uses your body's electricity to power itself. And most importantly, it constantly sends out a signal that is picked up by any nearby Wi-Fi point and transmits it straight to us, with nobody being the wiser. Now, of course, it wouldn't work in very remote areas, but anywhere that has internet, we're in your head, right behind that furrowed brow of yours. And you know what the best part is?
Oh, what's the best part?
It can never be removed. Well, that's not entirely true. It can be, but it's not very pleasant. After a few days, the cells of your brain begin to grow around it, like a tree growing through a fence. If you take it out, you're liable to lose quite a bit of gray matter with it. Who knows what that might do?
You know everything.
Flashes. It's still a new technology, very imperfect. Think of it like watching a shadow theater with a distorted soundtrack. Hard to piece together, but not impossible. So when I say that I know you're trying to find her,
Yes. Yes, I have.
why?
You don't know?
We pick up thoughts. It's mostly in images. We don't do feelings. The prefrontal cortex and the amygdala are separated by quite a bit of brain. The answer that I want is a little bit thought and a little bit feeling. Unfortunately, we haven't advanced that far.
Dad, if they can see your thoughts, do they know about my thumbs?
Yes, we do. The lack of feeling has progressed, hasn't it? Exactly how far? Past the elbows?
Up to the shoulder.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Most parents would have told somebody by now.
She doesn't mind it. It's not a problem. It's a gift. It's part of her.
I doubt that. Back to your wife. We know you want something. We just can't figure out what. Every time you start to really think clearly about it, you push it away. It's more than just missing her. Nobody goes through that much pain just to see somebody they miss.
I would.
Oh, very brave of you to say, but I doubt it. Right now, at least.
Why?
What has your dad told you about heaven? Specifically, what it feels like?
He says it hurts. Real bad.
Bit of an understatement, wouldn't you say?
Maybe a little.
Would you come out from behind that chair? Trust me, I have no intention of harming you. He was going to die anyways. He was foolish. Nice, and it is regrettable, but foolish. You're perfectly safe, though.
I'm fine here.
Have it your way. Why don't you tell her what it's really like? The devil is in the details, so to speak.
To put it in simple terms, it's all too much. That was the consensus of everybody that ever even got close to heaven. It's not a place for people who are still alive. It overwhelms all of your nerves, like the worst case of pins and needles, but electric, like a shock and a burn and being frozen all at once. That's about as good as I can do.
We were shocked with the findings. You never anticipate heaven hurting. The thought never even crossed anyone's mind. And still, the other day, you said it wasn't so bad. Impressive.
If you want something enough, you put up with the pain.
I could handle it.
Maybe you could. Maybe it's in your genes. But you're still avoiding my question. Why put up with it at all?
Could I make one request before I answer the question?
I can't promise I'll grant it, but I won't stop you from asking.
Can my daughter leave the room if she doesn't want to hear the answer?
I've always had a soft spot for little girls, my Achilles heel. Fine, go. But just so you're aware, the military works with local emergency services. If you call, they won't come. And the next person to knock on that door I don't want knocked on will be to join my late colleague on the floor there. Understand? Happy?
Hard to be with a body on my floor.
I did apologize.
Oh, yes, that makes it so much better.
I'm waiting.
You lack a fundamental bit of knowledge. You can tell from this little brain computer when I think about heaven, right?
We get an image. That's how the information is relayed.
And lately, I'll bet you've been getting the image of me and my wife talking in heaven. I'm asking her a question, yes? Conversing about other things, but the question more often than not.
Exactly.
What question?
Are you here?
Do you think there are varying degrees of sin?
Beg pardon?
It all ties together. Again, do you think that some sins are worse than others? For instance, stealing wouldn't be as bad as murder or rape, correct?
I would agree with that.
Do you think if there is a God, and it's looking more and more likely that there is, that he pays attention to what happens to you? Do you think that when you suffer in this life, you're rewarded in the next?
Perhaps. It's certainly a theory. No one can be sure, though.
True, very true. It's only a theory. I have this idea that if you suffer for your sins in this life, it doesn't count against you in the next. Or it might, but maybe a little less, like paying off part of a loan. For instance, if you steal from a store, but the guy catches you and beats the shit out of you, you're even, right? Slate wiped clean.
That's an interesting theory.
My recent past holds two fairly significant sins: infidelity on the part of my wife, and potentially murder on my part. Ending a life at the very least. I don't know, and that's what tears me apart every single day. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Not quite.
Infidelity can be recovered from. The relationship might not last, but the people themselves will eventually move on. Murder, though. Murder is permanent. Therefore, murder is worse than infidelity, yes?
By that logic.
So, if my wife was unfaithful to me and was murdered for it, then she would go to heaven, correct? She would have paid for it. The slate would be clean. I've been trying to communicate with her, gotten close enough to almost see her, almost touch her even. And every time I ask the question, but I can never get an answer. It's too painful and I have to turn back.
So you're saying, following your logic, if your wife is in heaven, which she seems to be, then that means you murdered her.
Exactly. But that's not the big question. Isn't it surprising that heaven hurts so much? It's completely unbearable, awful. What if it isn't heaven we've been reaching? What if my wife was unfaithful to me and it just caused an accident? A legitimate accident. She wouldn't have paid for it. Therefore,
She would go to hell.
what you picked up as "Are you here?" was actually "Where are you?" What is here? Is this heaven or hell? Right now, they're pretty much the same in my head. So your computer must have crossed those wires.
You want to know that you didn't kill your wife.
I want the truth, but I'm scared of it.
Anybody would be.
Would they? I'm not afraid that I'm a murderer. I'm afraid that I want to be.
Go on.
I loved my wife. Still do. She and my daughter are everything to me. If I killed her, I couldn't live with myself. But if I didn't, she could be in hell suffering. Unacceptable. You see the problem now.
Yes.
A motherfucker of a Hobson's choice. I have to know the answer. But both possibilities would kill me. I think that's what stops me from actually getting the answer every time I try. I want to know, but I can't know.
Wow.
If you want something bad enough, you put up with the pain. I put up with a lot of pain lately. Still no answer.
You know, we might be able to help each other.
Oh?
Give me a week. Oh, somebody will be by for the body shortly. I also would advise you to stay in your house or the surrounding area. The store is fine, but stick close. Remember, we'll know.
I didn't like that.
Me either. How much did you hear?
Just the very end, when she was about to leave. I got nervous because you're talking quiet. She says, wait a week.
Go unplug the router.
It's off.
We'll have to speed it up. I think we'll have the time.
Maybe.
Only if you think you can handle it.
I'm fine. I want to know what happened.
Me too, sweetheart. Me too.
Blackout. Scene 5. We remain in the living room. A blanket covers the stain on the couch. Dad sits in the chair. Daughter is upstairs. There is a polite knock. Woman opens the door and enters, carrying her handbag.
We're probably past the knocking stage, but old habits die hard.
Yeah. Privacy doesn't seem to mean much anymore, does it?
Oh, jokes. Surprising.
The way we left things a week ago, it almost seems like we're on the same team here.
That's a remarkable change in the tone from last time.
I've been thinking a lot.
All I want is what you want. A safe and happy home for you and your daughter. Where is she, by the way?
Ugh. She was feeling sick, so she's been upstairs all day.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's no fun.
You are laying it on thick today, aren't you?
You know the resources that we have at our disposal. If we didn't want to work with you on this, you would have been separated from your daughter by force already.
I am curious about why I'm still here and not in prison right now, or worse.
I won't lie to you. There are some people who did want you arrested. Still do, actually. But the argument was made that you really haven't done much wrong. Realistically, all of this amounts to a drug charge and not much more. And there are some legal wrinkles around using that particular drug, even by the government.
Don't you make the laws?
Government is a large, unruly beast at the best of times, and an imperfect pile of paperwork at the worst. It's best just to pick your battles and not try to rock the boat.
What a beautiful system you fight for.
My job is one of the only jobs left in the world that really pushes the boundaries of scientific knowledge every day. You know as well as I do how addicting that can be. And that's why we'd like your assistance.
I'm not sure I have a whole lot to give. You've got smarter people and better equipped by now.
Oh, we're not asking for much. And in return, you would receive the full cooperation of the Project Ascension staff. We could get you the answer that you want together and help you through whatever comes of getting that said answer.
I'll think it over. And what, may I ask, will I be giving you in return? Or is it simply my use as a test subject?
Not exactly. While the data that you'll be bringing in will be invaluable, this is a bigger deal than just that.
I'm not sure I have much else to give.
We're not asking for much. Simply put, in exchange for your access to the resources of Project Ascension, we would ask for your daughter's cooperation as well.
No.
Hear me out first.
No. I don't need to hear anything. I'm not giving up my daughter.
Well, you see, that's where all this gets a bit hairy. Unless you cooperate with us, and remember, we're willing to give you something in return, there's a large possibility that you will be found to be an unfit parent, and your daughter will be removed from your care.
You can't do that.
I killed a man on your couch. Be smart. We can, and we will. I just personally don't want to. Despite what you may think, I would actually consider you a relatively competent father, which is why I would like you to hear me out instead of immediately denying me.
Talk.
Your daughter would also become part of the Project Ascension, working alongside you. My colleagues are very interested in the lack of feeling in her arms. If we could find a way to amplify that, then she would be able to communicate with, maybe even visit heaven with almost no ill effects.
My daughter is very mature for her age and has some interesting things happening to her. But I'm not letting her sign her life over to the government.
You don't trust us.
When it comes to my daughter, the only person I've ever fully trusted is my wife.
Yet she was unfaithful to you. Maybe your judgment isn't what you think it is?
My wife was the perfect mother to my daughter. She might not have been the perfect wife, but she was the perfect mother.
Well, not to be pushy, but what choice do you have?
That's what I'm trying to think of.
Well, let me spell it out for you. Option A, you agree with us. You and your daughter move to a secure facility and get to live together and work on what is, with no hyperbole, the most advanced scientific project in the world, all as father and daughter. Option B, you don't agree with us. Your daughter is removed from your care and placed in the foster system. You will never see her again. You are forced into a mental institution under the guise of needing rehab for a drug addiction. Once in, you are never allowed out. You will never see your daughter again. And of course, you'll never get your answer.
Seems like a fairly easy choice when you break it down like that.
Doesn't it?
I suppose any rational father would have to do what's best for his daughter.
I'm glad you see it that way. So, do you have an answer for me?
I do.
Dad reaches under his leg and pulls out a gun, which he points at woman.
Option C. I get my answer, my daughter and I leave, and you never see us again.
And I would have thought you were so tired of death and violence at this point.
I am tired, but certain things have to be done before I get to rest.
I'm supposed to be frightened? No matter what you do, you'll get caught. We can see inside your head.
That's something I've been thinking about quite a lot lately. I got to thinking, wow, this incredible technology can convert the electrical signals that fire in my brain, turn them into a picture, occasionally with audio, and play them for a group of voyeur lab techs. Amazing. Incredible. Then I really started thinking. I did a little research, as I'm sure you've guessed, and I discovered just how much data passes through the brain every second of every day. I got the idea that maybe, just maybe, there's a bit of a delay in what you see. It can't be instantaneous, right? No computer is that powerful. Hell, even the brain itself runs on a tiny delay. Is any of that correct?
You've simplified it a lot, but yes, somewhat.
My estimation is that it would take at least an hour for all of that data to be transferred over a network and decoded into anything usable. Maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. But still, an hour is a long time. Quite a
And
long time.
where are you going with this?
You know that I unplugged our modem. You also know, I'm guessing, that I went out and purchased a wireless signal blocker and installed it. Oddly enough, an hour and 15 minutes after that modem was unplugged, a black car pulls up across the street and takes a picture of me sitting on my porch. You thought I was going to run, didn't you?
Even if we didn't think it, it's good to check.
So what if I told you I could end your life, take my daughter, and disappear before any of you knew I was gone?
I would call that a terrible idea. Public Wi-Fi alone would make you easy to trace.
Not much Wi-Fi in the woods. Plus, we live in a fairly small town, which makes me wonder just how many people would have you've brought with you. Couldn't be that many. People would ask questions about a military convoy heading down Main Street, especially since you seem to want to keep this quiet.
Let me get this straight. You're going to take your teenage daughter, who is currently in counseling because of the death of her mother, into the woods indefinitely. How long has it been since you've slept?
Fuck off.
Can I point out one hole in your plan?
Please.
So, say that this all works exactly as you've planned. You and your daughter escape and are perfectly fine. You both stay off the grid, and she somehow doesn't resent you for destroying her life, and everything is just perfect. You still don't get your answer in this scenario.
I do, actually. Well, to put it more accurately, I am.
What do you mean? Your daughter isn't sick, is she?
No, she's not.
You are pathetic.
I have to know.
You deserve to have her taken away.
Am I doing anything different than what you wanted to?
Yes.
How?
Oh, I don't know. How about laboratory conditions? Having a doctor on standby, being next to her, for God's sake. She could have died up there while we've been talking.
We know the approximate overdose point for this drug. The amount she took was far under that. And I was with her until you came.
When I came, you were sitting in that chair doing nothing to help your daughter, just like every other time that I've seen you.
I've been in and out. Constant supervision leads to nervousness. You should know that. We found that out together.
And to think I pitied you. Before all this, I felt bad for you, for the whole situation.
I didn't ask for your pity.
Part of it is my fault, I guess. I couldn't see how far gone you actually are.
Gone?
Unstable, crazy. You look at what you're doing. Tell me, it isn't insane.
I did what I had to do.
You were selfish. You put your own obsession ahead of your daughter's well-being.
She wanted to. She volunteered. She wants to know where she is.
She is 14 years old. In this case, it doesn't matter what she wants.
My daughter is fine. We're handling it.
Handling it? Really? Getting shipped off to her grandfather's every week so her daddy can take drugs because he doesn't know if he sent her mother to hell or not? You think that doesn't affect her?
Keep your voice down. She'll hear you.
And what will that do exactly?
I don't want her thinking her mother went to hell. I don't want that thought in her head.
She's up there looking for the answer to that question right this minute, for God's sake.
No, she's not. She's just looking for her mother.
What? You're not making any sense.
She doesn't know her mother might be in hell. All she wants to do is find her. That's what she told me. She says she wants to know what happened.
You sent her off. You gave her... You haven't talked this thing through with her? All of this?
We don't need to talk. We want the same thing. We both want to know what happened to her mother. We both want to leave here and get away from you. What's there to talk about?
You can't hide from us.
I've done it for the last week.
Oh, yes, and very admirable. You bought a signal jammer and stayed inside, like a toddler in a closet. So brave.
Kept you out of my brain.
Yes. And what did you do with that freedom? You gave your daughter high-grade military psychedelics. There has to be a part of you that's still rational enough to know how crazy that is.
I have to have an answer. My daughter wants an answer. The drugs don't do any lasting harm, and it's just a one-time thing.
You say your daughter wants an answer, but you haven't even told her the exact question you want an answer to. It doesn't add up. Why can't you see that?
You'll know soon. I have faith in my daughter.
That she'll get the answer or that she'll be okay?
Both.
I hope so. So when you're off on your little escape into the woods, just what do you expect? Where do you expect to find those drugs you need? Something this powerful isn't something you can get off the street.
Eventually, I'll get the answer. If nothing else, when I'm dead, I'll go to either heaven or hell and I'll know where she is.
I'm not sure they allow parents that give their children drugs into heaven.
Hell then. I'll still know.
Well, why not just wait it out in the first place then?
Can't live my life not knowing. It'd be torture.
It's incredible how good you are at withstanding physical pain, yet you're so completely inept at processing anything emotionally.
Oh?
You talk about your own life being torture, and you're giving your daughter exactly the same sort of life. You think she'll be happy living on the run? Not going to school, no friends, no relatives?
We'll be together.
Oh, because that makes everything okay.
Ask her yourself. You go ask her if she wants to be taken from me. She'll say no every time.
Of course she will. No child wants to be taken away from a parent they love, but that doesn't mean it's not the best course of action for her. She's a minor for a reason.
She knows that she doesn't want us to be apart.
It's too late for that.
Not yet, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Woman puts one hand up toward Dad, signaling that he shouldn't shoot her, and reaches into her bag with the other, pulling out a small device.
It's a portable Wi-Fi hotspot, military grade. A little more powerful than your little signal jammer that you bought at the hardware store. Your little test of our response time was an interesting but flawed. Yes, a car pulled up an hour and a half, but that's only because there was a house fire a couple miles away. Local emergency personnel were busy, so we had to send one of our own cars. It took a bit longer. You were right, though. There is a bit of a delay in what we see from your head. About 10 minutes, actually. Just about the amount of time that we've been sitting here talking.
What?
Right now, they're listening to the beginnings of our conversation. How long was it until you told me what you were planning to do? 5 minutes? 10? Time is running out. People will be coming soon.
It doesn't matter. She'll have the answer. After that, it doesn't matter.
And you still have the audacity to call yourself a good father.
I may not be Father of the Year. Maybe. But I love her enough to let her know and let her do what's important to her.
To you, maybe.
Oh, it's okay, sweetie. Everything's okay. Come sit with me.
To the chair. She curls up in his lap.
How are you feeling?
Tired.
I know how that is. How was it?
Was a lot.
You should call an ambulance for her.
She handled it fine. She doesn't need one.
Just to be sure.
She handled it.
One will be here eventually, but time is of the essence for her sake.
I said no. Would you relax? Don't make her tense.
I'm thirsty.
I'll get you some water. Don't touch her.
Dad stands, setting daughter on the chair.
You're thirsty? That chemical drastically reduces the desire for both food and water in every test we did. Your dad didn't eat for 2 days afterwards. He almost needed a feeding tube.
Okay.
Huh. Amazing.
Dad re-enters with a glass of water, which he gives to daughter.
Dad, why do you have a gun?
Because I thought someone might try to stop us.
I don't like guns.
Sometimes we have to do things we don't like for the greater good.
How long until this wears off?
A couple more hours, sweetie.
It's just hard to focus.
I know, baby. I know.
She's thirsty.
I know.
Don't you think that's a bit odd?
Very odd, actually. Impressive.
Police sirens can be heard in the background. Close.
right on schedule.
No, not yet.
Dad runs to the door, opens it, and fires a single shot far above the police. He closes and locks it, then returns to daughter.
Sweetheart, I know this is very fast, but I have to know, did you get an answer?
Yeah, I got one.
What is it? Tell me, sweetie.
A loud knocking on the door. Somebody tries the knob.
Dad, they're gonna get in.
That's okay, that's fine. They can get in if they want to. I just need to know what happened.
Daughter is cut off as the window is broken inwards. Bits of glass spray across the carpet. Dad fires at the window, twice.
There's a kid in here!
Dad points the gun at woman.
Tell them to stop, now.
I can't.
I'm not giving you a choice. Tell them. 5 minutes. Tell them 5 minutes and I'll come out peacefully.
Woman stands and walks to the window, showing her hands through it first. She briefly pokes her head out.
He says 5 minutes and he'll come out.
Sweetie, what did you find out?
Are they gonna take you away, Dad?
It's all going to be okay, sweetie. Just tell me what you found out.
I thought they weren't gonna be able to find us.
You have to tell me, baby. You have to tell me the answer.
I don't want to leave you.
You won't. You won't have to. Just tell me the answer.
Something large crashes into the front door, making it shake. Dad swings around, pointing the gun at woman again.
I told you to tell them.
It's bigger than me now.
Another large crash.
You got to tell me now, sweetie. We're out of time. You got to tell me, please.
I found her in heaven, Daddy. Our dog went to heaven. Dogs go to heaven. Isn't that nice?
The door is finally broken down. Soldiers rush in, grab Dad, and haul him away. Woman and daughter are left in the aftermath. There's a moment of silence. Then daughter turns to woman.
I think something is wrong with his eyes.
Blackout. End of show.
And that's our show, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Let's introduce you to some people now, and we'll start the interactive talkback. First, I want to introduce the director of the play, who is directing her very first thing for the SOC. This is Liz Pence.
Woo! Hi, guys.
Liz. And then the man of the hour, or the hour and 20 minutes, the playwright himself. This is Alexander Wolfe, everybody. The word guy.
Hello. Thanks for hanging out tonight. I appreciate it.
You're out in the forest and you found a Wi-Fi signal. Look at that.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. It's the place to be.
So the cast is still around, everyone. And we're getting claps. Look at this. We got some claps there. Thank you, Liz.
Oh, Liz.
I'm assuming Alex knows Liz.
I do know Liz. I do know Liz. She's a sweetheart.
Oh, one of our regular. Oh, the comments are coming in.
It's happening.
We got a wow. Great job, everyone. Well, we appreciate all of the thanks and all of the claps and all the nice things that are coming in really fast. I think there's Liz again. So this is normally when we do this on the stage. This is when we gather the audience down front and we have a little bit of a conversation with the audience about the play. So for those of you who may be watching who don't know how this works, we selected Alex's play from about, I think it was just about 300 plays that we received last year, and we did 4 of them. And so we've been working on his play a little bit off and on for, well, I think we picked the plays in September, October. But we've really been working on it intently for the last 10 days. Liz picked the cast and we started working on the play. And what happens during this, my kids want to shoot Barb. One of the these comments are coming so fast they can't keep up. Paul Patton said, "Powerful build, lots of surprises, excellent performances." Thank you. Megan Bryant says, "Did not expect that ending at all." But part of this process is now to get feedback from all of you. It's not just praise for what we appreciate very much, but to have you ask questions. Okay, some man named Alex Wolfe commented, "Overrated playwright, in my humble opinion."
I don't know. I think he's got a point. He's got.
That would be, yeah. We just typed. So this is the time for you to ask questions. You can ask Liz questions. You can ask Alex questions. We'll bring on the cast here. There's Spenser Jones, who played man. Barbara Cliff Miller, who played woman. There is Estelle McCourry, who played my daughter. And then we can only have 6 people on screen in this format. So we're going to pop daughter away for a second. And there's Meghan Barnes, who was our stage manager. We'll just open this up. You can type in questions, things that maybe weren't clear to you about the play, things that you really were surprised by, and you can be as specific as you want. And while they do that, Alex, why don't you maybe briefly say where the inspiration for the play came from? Because I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, so the inspiration for this piece, I think, came from probably 3 different particular sources. Stephen King's excellent book, Firestarter, about a young girl with some interesting powers. A Coheed and Cambria song called Gravity's Union, where the play takes its title from, that also concerns a person dealing with a car accident and the ramifications of that and what has happened because of that. And thirdly, a lot of weird creepypasta writing online. There's one really excellent one about a man that has basically all of his senses cut away by researchers, so he's just this shell, because they essentially think that that is the only way that a living human, would ever be able to communicate with God, is to have no ties to this physical world anymore. And the answer comes back, and it's not exactly what they want. You know, it's an answer. They get an answer, but it's not the right answer. So I think all of those, coupled with the fact that, I don't know, I think one of my own big failings is probably one that a lot of men have, which is like, hey, I've got all these emotions and I don't know what to do with them. And the most simple and the best answer is always talk. And that's unfortunately what nobody in this play wants to do with each other, is talk.
Sure. A couple of people have said, I have a question but haven't asked it yet. So please go ahead. You can just type your questions into the chat there on YouTube. If you're watching on the Facebook page or our website and you're wondering where you can put these comments, if you click the title at the top, it'll take you right to YouTube, where there is a chat available. And I actually will say, I have to do this at least once tonight, that you can donate to the SOC. Like many arts organizations across the country, we are not having any income right now because we're not putting on any shows. But I'm also very proud to say that since March 13th, when we closed the doors, there has only been 2 weeks where we have not created new theater. And we were in rehearsal for that new theater on those 2 weeks. So, all right, let's get back to the comments. There's the place where you can donate at the bottom of the screen. We should all point to that. You know, let's go ahead. Okay, this is a great question. Who is the villain?
That's a good question.
Me.
I mean, in a way, you're not wrong, right? In a way, it's just a really bad situation, isn't it? Like, man, wow. It's not a fun place to be for anybody in there. But I think ultimately, I would say, other people's opinion, perfectly valid. I would say the villain, unfortunately, is Dad at the end.
Yeah, the person who asked you who is the villain question asked or wrote, I thought it was the woman, but not entirely sure what the dad seems to be, creepy drug addict.
Yeah, it's the flip that happens in that last scene, right? Where you see this woman begging, almost like, please, dear God, call an ambulance for your daughter. Like, one's coming anyway, but like, let's hurry this process up. And Dad is just saying no, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
We got another question here from
Even though I killed Spencer.
Yeah, even though I killed Spencer. True. Monty asks Alex, what was your thought process for the twist at the end?
Ooh, beautiful. Also, Monty D. Montalegre, a playwright in, I believe, New York right now, who is doing things that are much better than I have ever done. So, like, if you want to look at cool stuff, go see Monty.
I believe, is this the Monty that you reference in your bio?
Yeah, it is.
I didn't think he was a real person.
I've been lucky enough to work with him
Go Monty.
on a number of occasions, and he is absolutely an excellent person, has interesting ideas, and people should pay him to write for them. But for the twist at the end, it's not. It's only a twist if you don't consider the daughter the main character. All of the crumbs are there throughout, I think. Especially when daughter is talking with man in that first time. She doesn't ever mention her mother. I think she knows what happened to her mother. She has been able to close that behind her. But there's something that's sticking in her head, and it's what has happened to my dog. Nobody ever told me about my dog. Like, I don't know. I think small things like that may seem unimportant to a lot of people at the time can be the things after a tragedy that people hold on to for quite a while, because those are the details that stick in our brain, you know?
There you go, Liz. Monty says, I'm very real. Thanks for the kind words.
Oh, yeah.
I believe in you, Monty.
He's an excellent person. Somewhere there's a video of us performing the absolute worst song in the universe together. And it's a beautiful catastrophe.
Next year's Plays in Development.
Next year's Plays in Development should feature a Monty play.
A question for Liz from Chase says, what was your first thoughts, reaction to your initial reading of the play?
I was in the library at my university, and I got an email from Trinity that asked me, what do you think of this play? And my initial reading was just like, what is happening? What just happened? I thought there were a lot of really great roles that actors could sink their teeth into. There were a little bit of like producibility things that kind of gave me a little bit of pause. And overall, I thought it needed development. So it's super cool that this was sort of what came out of it was we got to develop it and work on it. And it was a great piece at the beginning, and it's an even greater piece at this point. So just props to Alex for being just so willing and gracious during this process.
I got a text question.
Ooh.
Just wondered where everybody is reading from. So I'm actually in my office at the Salk in Jonesboro.
I am reading from my room in the basement of who is basically my uncle, his house. So yeah.
You're near Jackson, right? You're
Spring Arbor.
Spring Arbor, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Stella, where are you?
I'm in my bedroom.
I'd be more interested in what cities we're all in.
Oh, okay.
in Hillsdale.
Okay. Barb, where are you?
I'm in my basement in Horton.
Horton. Spencer.
I'm in Hillsdale.
Alex.
And I'm all the way in Kansas City, Kansas, actually, right outside of it. And Chase, the last guy that had a question there, sorry, one previous, is also another author that people should check out. He puts out cool stuff all the time. He's a very good friend of mine.
Awesome. And Megan, where are you? You're in Hillsdale too, right?
Yep, up at Hillsdale College, my husband's office.
So sort of all over Hillsdale County. So, all right. Actually, Chase has another question.
Hey, there we go.
One for Alex. What have you found in this reading that you would like to either expand on, cut, and or change? I love this piece.
Ooh, a ton has already been expanded, cut, and changed. If I can simplify the answer for this down to a very specific point, after the first reading, when I was able to hear everybody's voices that are a part of this project, it immediately became apparent, like, hey, some of these lines aren't going to work. Some of these situations need to be shorter. Like, my God, if I wrote it and I'm getting bored in the middle of a scene, it's like it's got to be cut, right? Because what's the point of it? Also, I mean, God, I'm a 25-year-old middle-class dude who has never been in the Army. So, like, all of the military stuff, anything said by characters that are older than me, younger than me, female, have a different life experience. I'm none of those things. And so thankfully there are these excellent, excellent people that have worked on this project very graciously. They were absolutely the inspiration all the way through, and their notes were the only things I think that really directed me in order to make cuts, make changes, stuff like that. Also, you go back through and you're like, how many times can I misspell the same damn word before I just throw my computer into the wall? So, yeah.
A question for Liz from Betsy.
Yep.
How has this process challenged your ideas of how theater should work, or has it?
Ooh, that is a great question. So I was trained in Spring Arbor University's theater program, which is, I'm going to get a little bit into dramatic theory, but it's called a POUR theater. So Jerzy Grotowski says you only need 4 things for theater. You need a story, you need actors, you need an audience. What's the 4th thing? You need a place to do it. And that's all you need for theater. And so we all have a place to do it. We have actors, we have a story, and we have an audience, which is you guys. So this is just a different definition of POUR theater. And honestly, I wouldn't want to do any other kind of POUR theater other than POUR theater. So yeah, it's sort of deepened my appreciation and understanding of what that can mean.
Sure. We're going to bring Stella back on because someone who has the same name as her mother asked how her daughter figured out how to appear to have been drugged.
A good director. A good director.
There you go. Play Liz. Paul Patton, who's a wonderful local theater professor and playwright himself, wrote the compelling foreshadowing regarding the dog and strikes us rebarks at the conclusion.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah, Bud is scary, LOL.
She turned it up tonight. Like, did she not? Wow.
Yeah.
Sarah Gray here, who's one of the playwrights. Her play is going to be on May 30th. Great job, everyone. Surprise ending. Barb, you were so intense. Clap, clap, clap. This may be a silly question, but why did you choose not to give the characters names?
Ooh, man, I would love to have like a better reason for this. Like, it makes the play a lot more universal and all of that nonsense. But really, it came down to like, hey, the first draft, I don't want to have to worry about naming this. So it's like, what are they? Dad, daughter, man, woman. And then, I don't know, eventually that got easier to type than anything. And it was kind of a fun challenge to be like, okay, so nobody introduces themselves in this show. How do we work around that? Nobody calls anybody by their name. How do we work around that? And then once I did all that work, I mean, I'm not going back and putting names in there. The heck with that.
There's a whole conversation going on around this question, so I'm going to bring it up. This person says, is the daughter autistic like me? Because why on earth would she care more about the dog than her mother? And at the end, I thought the dad would face palm because of and then someone responded, I was thinking because of how trauma can sometimes affect people. Thoughts on that? I think we talked about that a little bit, but
yeah. In psychology, one of the things we understand is that when people are going through a traumatic time, one of the things that they can do as a coping mechanism is regress to an earlier age. So if she was about 5 or 6 years old, maybe she would, and was a little bit more attached to the dog, she might, I don't know, be a little bit more concerned with the dog than necessarily understand what's going on with her mother. So that could be it.
Sure.
One thing I wondered that myself, and one thing that I thought is with, maybe the daughter knew that mom was pregnant and that there was going to be a problem, and that the dog was her sole buddy. I mean, let's face it, our pets love us no matter what, and that could be why she really misses the dog, because that was her stable.
For sure.
The dad has a line toward the end of the play where he says, to effect, my wife wasn't the perfect wife, but she was the perfect mother. And I think in the moment that's probably taken as true. But if we step back for a minute, like, I believe my mother's watching this, so I love you, Mom. I swear to God, But no mother is perfect. I think any mother, worth her salt would admit that. There are mistakes that happen and things like that. So there could certainly be some issues, that happen when the daughter and the mom are alone. I mean, for goodness sakes, when a third of a family is deployed overseas, that's a very big hole that needs to be filled. I mean, that's even though they're still technically like here, that's still a gap, and it's a gap for a long time. And if people are doing something dangerous, that causes stress, and people react to stress in very different ways. So we don't know exactly what happened with the daughter and the mother. And quite honestly, I don't have a perfect answer for why the daughter cares about the dog more. I think if there was a simple one that comes to mind, it would be because she knows what happened to her mom. And if we're considering the fact that there is a heaven, she probably wouldn't doubt that her mom would go to heaven, because why would her mom not go to heaven?
Right.
But what happens to a dog? What happens to a dog after they die? People don't talk about that as much. So I wonder, again, I'm a 25-year-old dude trying to speak for a 14-year-old girl. So everything with a grain of salt, who am I? But that's sort of my thought process with it.
Sure. Brendan Pratt asks, how much research did you do on MK Ultra and other government projects that seem, quote, shady, like the one in the piece?
Oh man, you could go down a rabbit hole with that, and then you got to separate like the fact out from like the conspiracy videos that have like the little red circle on top of the Twin Towers and stuff. Satan is not there, but there are some really shady things that our government has done in the past. With MK Ultra specifically, I mean, they drugged unknowing members of the American public, of their own staff, things like that. If you look up a ton of declassified CIA, FBI, government documents, you can see absolutely horrendous atrocities that have been perpetrated on the people of America by the American government. And while I don't think that was necessarily like a focal point for writing this, it certainly is, I don't know, probably a topic in all of our minds right now, with the current political discussion. How much can we trust our government, right? That's something we all should be asking and should be trying to honestly know the answer to.
Yeah. Trying to keep up. We don't want to have this go on forever, but there's great things coming up.
That's a good problem.
And this is interesting because normally this wouldn't be something we talk about in plays and development, but we're going to. How does doing theater digitally change the experience? What are the trials and triumphs? Does anyone want to take this?
I miss leading actors in warm-ups and just like doing like everything that is required of you physically to be able to be on stage and relaxed on stage and have presence on stage. So that's just one part of directing that I miss, is getting to do that little Zen, like semi-yoga meditation bit to prepare actors. So that's just me.
Although we did do a little bit of that. I mean, we talked about what we were grateful for.
Yeah,
That is true.
Yeah.
it was kind of, sometimes we'd have like technical difficulties, and that would like completely have to stop the rehearsal for a little bit and like set us back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we always got through it, but like it was a little annoying.
And the technical difficulty was often named Barb.
Love you, Barb.
I gotta say though, what was really interesting is, well, first of all, this talkback is proving that people were interested in watch, which is great. I don't think the other actors can see this, but I'm running the program, so I'm seeing how many people are live watching us in the top corner, and it kept like changing through the show. So, and I'm able to see all of them, whether they're on screen or not, which is also extremely distracting.
Yeah, we were naughty sometimes. I'm sorry.
You did a pretty good job there.
I don't know if we should tell them this, but there's a private chat that only we can see, and all right. Oh, someone got a message. Andrew Esterline, one of our actors, wrote, "Ice cream in the show was quite nice, but it was interesting to just close my eyes and listen and create my own stage through imagination."
Oh.
David Mamet says that all good plays also work as radio plays. So the fact that you were able to just close your eyes and listen and see it is a really good sign.
Carrie said, "I agree." Andrew, Normally when we do this at the SOC, part of my curtain speech is that we encourage the audience to lean back and close their eyes and try to picture it. So it's awesome that you guys were able to do that.
Nice.
One of our board members says, I love that they don't have names.
Thank you. Good.
Andrew also
working on the board. Thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah, steps to the board. Andrew asks, I wonder how the actors, actresses feel about not physically being together. What was surprising, difficult, or interesting for them? And I'm going to make, Liz, I'm going to make you disappear just for a second. Bring on Spenser. Do any of you want to answer that?
One little thing that was interesting to me, and this could go back to the other question too, was just that I still had some pre-show energy and nerves, yet, just like being here alone. I don't know. That was interesting.
Yeah.
The delay, like that even mentioned in the play, the whole delay thing with reactions and acting with someone that you're not right next to makes it a little more difficult, but we can still see each other. It's just a little bit of a delay. So that made it a little bit interesting.
And also making sure that when things are coming through the glass, and it's like, okay, I hope I'm tipping the right way. Oh, it's coming through the glass, and you don't have a set, and also we don't know. At least I don't know. I couldn't tell. Maybe everybody else could, but I couldn't tell where my box was. So if my box was, and I was trying to respond to somebody, am I looking the right way at them? That was a little bit challenging.
Yeah, I wondered about that. There was a couple times Trinity, he always looked the right way. I was like, dang.
Yeah, no.
A few more things. We won't let this go on too much longer, but Chase said the perfect Mother's Day play. That's funny. I wondered if the girl knew too, like that mom was a cheat.
I brought that up.
Conversation dad has, and there's a scene that the dad tells man about the cheating. That's true. Meghan commented on Monty. I was worried I would not be able to connect with the characters since they were on screen, but it was easier than I thought. Goosebumps many times. Let's see. Green McCourry, or potentially Stella's mom. Stella's take on the dog situation is why that you think the daughter wanted to see the dog, wanted to know about the dog.
I don't know. I feel like she might have known about the mom, so I don't know. I feel like I would. I really don't know.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I don't know if there is much of a reason, kind of that she just does. I'm not sure.
Amazing the emotion and personality an actor can exude on a single person screen.
Right?
Yay.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Barb, I figured you pulled away from your own window behind you.
Good. Okay.
I love that you are all on my TV. We'll take a couple. If anyone has a couple more questions, they're sort of slowly finishing up. For those of you who are playwrights who are watching, we do accept plays, usually not till the fall, but we accept plays for consideration for plays in development. The only rule is that they have to be unproduced. We accept plays for our annual 10-minute play festival, which is called SOC Shorts. And we also, if you have a published play that you want us to take a look at, we always are looking for that. We've got a pretty great, if I do say so myself, record of producing new work. So nitpicky observation, child welfare background here. The CM has a doctorate. I could see him say, well, a bachelor's, but someday a doctorate. So.
Hey, we never said what he has a doctorate in. He could be a biologist for all we know.
That's true.
Then I lied about that cell.
Kathy Wolfe wants to know what's next for the Playwright.
What's next for the Playwright is actually, that's my mother, by the way. Thank you for being
here. Mother's Day.
She's been my original audience since I was very small. So yeah, very much thanks to her. The next thing would be I'm working on producing a new work for the Kansas City Fringe Festival, because that's totally not going to get canceled or anything because of the craziness going on. But it is currently entitled The Painting Rots and Now We Burn, a comedy. It's a dark comedy about a cult meeting where only 2 people end up showing up.
Oh, that's fun.
Interesting. Paul Patton asked, does the show play with an intermission? And I will just answer that no, the play currently does not have an intermission in it. The trend sort of in Broadway plays lately has been to do the 90-minute no intermission. When I was in New York last year, I saw 9 shows and 4 of them were 90-minute plays.
Wow.
So that seems to be the trend. In and out so you can get on the subway and get home. All right. Well, I think this might be the best way to sum it up right there. Congratulations to all involved. That includes all of you watching at home. Thank you for being part of our audience. Alex has agreed to let us leave the play up on our YouTube page, so we will post a link to it. And you will also be able to go to our website and click the link. Next week's show is called Sebastian Rising. It is a play about a young man who lives with his uncle, and his uncle keeps doing get-rich-quick schemes, and they keep going bad, so he keeps running across the country with his uncle, and then they meet a man who thinks that rich people are trying to find a way to go to Mars. And hilarious. This is a great. We're gonna pose this one last question because I think this is a really interesting question that I want you to get to answer. Would you consider the show a comedy or a drama at the heart of it?
Brooke Bosworth, another very dear friend of mine. That's a good question. I think that it's a drama, but it's set in the rhythm of a long joke with a punchline that isn't very funny at the end.
Yeah.
It's just a big old but nobody's around and somebody's crying.
Yeah.
Yes, awesome. Thank you for letting us attend the living rooms tonight. Great job, Alex. So proud of you.
Sarah, thank you.
And woohoo, congrats to everyone again. Fantastic.
Liz making it on 3 times. She's a superstar.
Congrats,
And
everyone.
Betsy,
Spectacular job.
of course.
All right. So I think that, of course, and then there was a look off to the side. I don't know what that was about.
Betsy is my girlfriend, who is my she is sorry. This way. There we go. There we go. Yes. She was my my therapy dog through this. She was holding my hand and everything.
Aw.
Well, awesome. All right. Thank you all. Thanks for joining us tonight. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Woo.
We'll see you next Saturday night. And we hope to see you back at the SOC very soon. Have a good night.
Ah.
Bye.